All right, everybody, I am thrilled to have our second of two Australians here today. Mark Middo is a growth hacker, and we're going to talk about what that is in a bit because it's a new phrase to this space, and author of the book 5 Minute Business. Really terrific book, by the way. As the founder of Social Empire and Reminisce Entertainment, Mark specializes in finding the angle no one's thought of before and leveraging it to create remarkable revenue growth. Growth hacking is about building growth into the product. Over the last decade, Mark has used this growth hacking system to fuel the success of several unique online businesses. Mark has been featured in such publications as Bloomberg Businessweek, Australian Anthill Magazine, and the Sydney Morning Herald. Please welcome Mark Middo.
Thank you, Mark.
This is a fabulous book, Mark. Explain to me, let's go back to the beginning. Define for the audience, what is growth hacking?
Growth hacking. Well, it's a massive buzz term at the moment.
It's
been around for about 4 years now. A guy called Sean Ellis from the Silicon Valley, he coined it in 2010. And basically, he found that there was certain types of marketers out there. There was marketers who were great at managing things, but then there was other marketers who specialised in startups. And they helped get a lot of growth in those early stage startups. And some of the examples are companies like Airbnb, Facebook, Twitter. They all grew really fast with not much money behind them. So what they did is basically built growth into their product, viral growth. And an example of a good company that's done it really, really well was Dropbox. So everyone's heard of Dropbox, obviously, so I won't explain them. But basically what Dropbox did is that they gave away a gig of free space if you signed up and you got it for free. And then what happened, once you'd signed up for that free gig, you could get another free gig if you actually shared Dropbox with your Gmail contacts. So they could have easily just given away 2 gig for free straight off the bat. But they didn't. They kept 1 gig away and said, hey, you need to share that to get that gig. And then they grew exponentially from that. So that built viral growth into their product. And that's still a feature of Dropbox today. It is. It very much is, and a lot of people copy it as well. So, it's perfect. You can do that with anything as well. Doesn't just apply to tech. And I guess my angle with growth hacking as well, Mark, is that I was never a gun developer or anything like that. I started off in online business about 10 years ago, and I was a complete failure. I had all these crazy ideas of wanting to be an internet millionaire when I was about 18. So I'm 28 now, so it was 10 years ago. Information back then wasn't as readily available as it is today. So it was just trial and error for me, and I was just trying things and they just weren't working. I was spending a lot of money on developers, and yeah, I nearly gave up. It was stupid ideas I was having, thinking I was going to make a lot of money, and nothing ever happened. But then I just slowly learned more and more, and I found you could use tools that helped you leverage growth hacking techniques without needing to be a developer. And I think that's key, and that's my angle with growth hacking, because I think a lot of people get scared away by the idea of growth hacking, that you need to be some sort of tech head, like a Mark Zuckerberg who can build things off the bat, and or you have to spend $100,000 getting someone to develop something for you into your product. But there are so many tools out there these days where you can actually apply growth hacking techniques for as little as a couple $100.
So talk about that. What are some of those ideas? What are some of those easy tools that either entrepreneurs or even people in the media space can use and apply to build growth in? Well,
talking in the audio space, I guess everyone who's listening to audio are in a passive mode. So they're sitting there listening to audio, and they might be in the car, they might be running, they might be jogging, and these types of things, and they're listening. So they're in a very passive mode. So what you need to do is get them into an active mode, and some tools that you can do that is by obviously telling them to go to things like a landing page. And a landing page is just telling them to go to a certain website where there's a call to action where you give away something free, and then you join an email list. But what you use there is a tool called lead pages, which is, it's a $30 a month tool. And, you get yourself some sort of growth there by pointing people to a landing page rather than just losing these people that you're speaking to. And some other examples of some tools that you can use are sites like Code Canyon. Code Canyon, you can download perfectly good scripts and tools that allow you to sort of build viral growth into your products for very cheap, like $10 and things like that.
I'm having some SEO work done on a site of my wife's, and the first thing he started with is landing page.
Yep.
That's the first thing he started with, is optimizing the landing page.
Exactly. That's the first place you have to start. You have to start with a landing page because that's where you can start to build data. And that's where I see where a lot of audio brands sort of fall back, is that they don't build that data. That they're sort of, like I say, they're passive. They're just pushing out stuff. You need to get people onto a landing page where you're giving something away for free, and then you can start to build rapport through a different channel, which is email marketing, because email marketing is still the highest converting form of online marketing. If you speak to any online marketer, that's the first thing they'll say: build your email list.
And you are probably the third or fourth person today to use the term list. Why is that so fundamental?
The list is just so important because with a list, that's where you can actually build a story with your customers, and that's exactly what I do. If someone joins my list, they get my story throughout a series of emails, which then they fall in love with me, basically. That's what I try and do. I try and seduce them to a certain degree, and that's what people should be doing. You should be trying to build that rapport through an email list, but not just that as well, but you can also push them to different channels as well. You know, it's your way to actually pull people in rather than just pushing out information to them. And, you know, I still see so many audio brands sort of do SMS, and, you know, when they're broadcasting to their people, they say SMS in or call in, but, you know, you really should be using social media and then pushing them to an email list, and then, you know, you can get them on the email list and then start pushing them out content that way. And that way you can do anything you want with them. Building rapport is the big thing with having an email list.
And initiating a relationship, which pays off for you over time. The thing that a lot of media brands don't quite grasp very often is we have this big thing, let's say it's a radio station. We can communicate with anybody anytime. We can drive them to our website through our radio station. But once they get there, you know, we don't know who they are, we don't know where they go, and we have no way to get them back again except through the radio station all over again.
Exactly.
And it seems to me that what you're describing is, again, particularly important for people in the non-commercial space.
Yeah.
People who are listener supported, station brands that are listener supported,
Exactly.
Because if you don't have a list, you don't have anything. And what I find for non-coms typically is that they've got a lot of people who listen over the air. They don't know who they are. They can only count their ears. And then they've got the list of people who are donors down here at the bottom.
Yep.
And they have no list in the middle. There's nothing in the middle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
What's the solution to that problem?
I think it's giving stuff value away. So you've got to give some value away, some sort of thing that you give away for free. I'm thinking exclusive content that you give away to people, and then they jump on board and they can obviously join the list that way, and it's targeted to those specific people. You've got to give something of value to get those people to give their data away. That's what I've always found. I give away certain different types of content to different target markets, and then I get them on my list and have different segmented lists. That's some of the best way that you can do it, is really targeting content and give it away as exclusive content. And also, if you create exclusive content, you can use tools such as Code Canyon, where you can create, say, a share to get. Whereas you have exclusive content, and this would be perfect with Craig and Hamish and Andy, that they create an exclusive thing that they do. The only way you can get it is by sharing it on social media, and obviously signing up to the list.
So it's an incentive to share something
Exactly.
with value attached on the other side.
Yeah, and some of those codes that you can get to do that, they cost like $10. And you can install it on your website. Check out codecanyon.net. It's actually an Australian brand, Code Canyon, same as Theme Forest in Vardo, so check that out. A lot of different cool things that you can get for your websites, and, you know, they're as cheap as $10. So.
Now, your background, you have some background as a DJ, right?
I do.
And Reminisce, one of your companies, Reminisce, is built around that. Can you talk about what that company does and how that could apply to audio brands in the US?
Yeah, definitely. So with Reminisce, what we basically did was, my business partner and I came up with an idea. We were just thinking to ourselves, wouldn't it be great if we got all our friends together, we voted for our top 5 favourite songs because we're really into dance music, and then we counted down the top 50 at a venue. It's kind of like there's a countdown event, and Craig will know this, called the Triple J Hottest 100, where everyone in Australia, they vote for their top five favourite songs of really alternative genre, and then they count down the top 100 on a day. And it's a huge day. It's massive. Everyone loves it. So we sort of wanted to replicate that for dance music specifically. So we had that idea and we ran the party, and it was great. We just thought everyone had a great time. So we thought, look, we've got to turn this into a business. It's too good of an opportunity. So we created a Facebook app where people would jump online, they'd vote for their top 5 favourite songs of house music and things like that. And then when they did that, it would actually share their votes onto Facebook. So we made sharing part of that user experience. And that's where I think a lot of audio brands could do something similar. You know, vote for your top 5 favourite Foo Fighters songs, vote for your top 5 favourite Nirvana songs. And then when that happens, it shares them on Facebook. And when you do that, you activate a passionate group of people. And that's where you start to see some viral growth. And that's how we had viral growth out of Reminisce, because once we tapped into those passionate communities and had them sharing their favourite songs of that particular genre, other people saw it, they started commenting on their votes and they started bantering, and that created the viral growth. So there's 2 ways you can look at viral growth. There's obviously the tech side, where you're actually leveraging a bit of technology, giving away something for free, which then makes people share that thing. But the other way is actually tapping into people's emotions. So we sort of did it both ways with Reminisce. We tapped into the emotions of people by getting into that real passionate community, and we just became the facilitator of their passion. And then we also used the fact that, you know, we had the sharing ability through Facebook, similar to like what Dropbox did.
Reading your book, it's clear to me that everything you do, you apply this filter of growth. Yeah. You know, how can I leverage this? How can I make people share this? Yeah. How can I invite people to amplify this message? Yeah. Can you talk about that kind of philosophy and why that's important to do, even for a media brand?
Yeah, definitely. Well, the thing is, you know, you always think, oh, we want to get into a massive distribution network when you start a business, or even if you're trying to push a product or a promotion, you know, you want to align with another brand who you know have a database of a couple of 100,000 or whatever it might be. But people forget about the consumers' databases as well. You know, on average, I think every person has, you know, 300 fans on Facebook, 300 friends on Facebook. So by thinking about those users and thinking about the passionate users and your target market, if you can tap into them and get them sharing your stuff, you're getting into, you know, word of mouth on steroids, basically. Rather than having other brands push your stuff, you should be looking at the consumer as well to really share, and that's where you'll get the viral growth.
You mentioned the Reminisce app. Are there some other kind of simple things that media brands could, you know, purchase or apply or create, which can help spark sharing?
Yeah, definitely. Like the one I spoke about before with the exclusive content. There's a tool called, I think it's called Share to Get. And basically all you do is share, and then they get that bit of content. So as soon as that person's on the, you know, you send them to a landing page, and it might say, hey, you're going to get this exclusive interview with Hamish and Andy for 30 minutes. All you need to do is share it with your friends, click this button, and then the content gets sent to them straight away. And when that happens, it then pushes that piece of content or the website to their friends. So that's just a simple way there. You know, other examples can be, you can use the Dropbox. There's another, I can't remember the name of the Dropbox one, but there's another one that's similar, and they've basically replicated what Dropbox do, and you can install that on your website as well.
A lot of these things are just plugins to a WordPress platform.
Yeah,
right?
so exactly. So you could use the WordPress platform if you wanted to, just to make it easy. And if you're not familiar with WordPress, it's basically a content management system where it, you know, basically builds a website for you, and you can change the look and feel of your website, you know, for $50 because it's just that easy. It's a great platform for that, and it's one of the main platforms that most online marketers use because it's so cheap and easy to do.
Mark has a couple of videos on his site that are, let me show you how to do blank in 60 seconds or less. It's so funny because that's exactly my attention span, strangely enough. One of the challenges that people in the audio space have is this, and that is that audio, forget some of the other ways to share messaging, but audio itself is hard to share.
Yeah, definitely.
Most MP3 platforms do not have sharing functionality built in. You can share the page, not the MP3, with exceptions like SoundCloud and others. But what about that? Why is audio so hard to share, or why don't people want to share it? I mean, what's going on with the shareability of audio from your standpoint?
Like I said before, people are in a passive mode, so that, you know, they're either in the car. You know, when people share stuff, it's basically because you've just triggered an emotion or whatever it might be, or they want something for free. So if you're in a car, it's going to be difficult for you to just pull over and go, I'm going to share that thing. So you've really got to get into people's heads and really drill it in there so they start to share your stuff. Basically, like that's why I think audio really does struggle, and I think you really need to push on mobile. So use responsive designs and things like that, and really get people on the mobile, because it's difficult with audio just because of that fact that people are in that passive mode. So I think really tapping into passionate audiences and also leveraging mobile as much as possible will definitely help get that viral growth.
It's definitely true. A lot of MP3s, a lot of audio online is not necessarily mobile friendly in the radio space in particular. Yeah,
exactly. I think a lot of people who do it well at the moment are people who are doing podcasts. They ask to get ratings and things like that because that helps their organic search rankings inside iTunes.
That's a growth hack.
Yeah, that's a growth hack. If you say to people, if you rate our iTunes podcast on iTunes, we will give you something for free or whatever it might be. And it might just be simple as send us an email and tell us and show us your review. But that helps you get higher in iTunes. There you get more plays and those types of things.
Yeah, they could say, please tell other people about it, or they could say, please go and comment, rate our show on iTunes.
Yeah, exactly.
And what people don't understand is the second request is actually far more effective from a Google standpoint than the first.
Do you know a guy called Derek Halpern by some social triggers? So he does it really well how he asks people to share his stuff without sounding desperate, because one of the issues you do have when you ask people to share things is that you can sound a little bit desperate sometimes, which then makes it so people don't share your stuff. So you've got to be really careful. And so what he does is he says, if you got a lot of value out of this podcast or this blog post, why not tell it to a friend? Do you know what I mean? And it sort of changes that whole, please share, which sounds a little bit, tacky and desperate, into, hey, I've got a bit of value and you can share it with your friend, which actually builds up that person's social currency. Because one of the big things that makes people share is the fact that it makes them look better. It's massively ego things, and that makes anything go viral. People just want to look better in front of their friends. So if you can put it in a frame of mind where you're actually sharing some quality value to other people and making them look better, that's when you'll start to see some viral growth from your communications.
So using growth hacking techniques, if you were to launch an audio brand, what would be your starting steps?
For an audio brand these days, there's three main points that I'd be looking for, and that's local, and that's mobile, and that's social. So what I mean by local is that you localize a target demographic. So if I was going to launch a radio brand, I would target straight down to, EDM, electronic dance music, just because that's something I'm passionate about as well.
So when you say local, you're talking about just the specificity of the target. You're not talking about geography necessarily.
Not geography. You could if you wanted to, okay. Like if I was going to say Australia, but let's just say I was going to target EDM lovers, people who love electronic dance music.
By the way, just for the record, I just want to illustrate that that's a facile, easy definition that Mark just had of local, and it's one that no one in the U.S. radio industry uses. The idea that local is an interest group.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So localized
not necessarily
market.
People who live in the same area.
Exactly. So localized market, meaning that you've got a target demographic that are passionate about a certain thing. So I would target something like that, electronic dance music lovers. The next thing I would build for mobile first. Mobile is where everyone's going to see the most growth. Desktop would be second for me at the moment. So mobile is massive. First thing would be obviously the mobile platform. Third, it would be social. It'd have to have social integration. So that's the main thing, because that's where you're going to get the viral growth. Everything that the radio does would have to be user generated or have that, social aspects similar to Spotify, things like that. It tells you that your friend's listening to this music. It has to have that social aspect. And then third, if I was going to launch that thing, I'd obviously test it a lot and see if I was getting growth out of, a certain demographic. So say if I try to get 50 people to sign up for whatever the product or brand I was launching, and I saw how much they were sharing it, how much they were using it, and I was really testing that product, and I knew it was testing and converting at a good rate, I would then look to tap into some big networks and show them my results that I had. So you want to tap into some big networks who share that demographic. So I might, get into someone like the Stereosonic in Australia, which is a large festival. I don't know what would be an American version of, say, a big dance festival.
You're asking me?
Yeah, I'm asking you. I've got no idea. I think
I don't know.
Well,
I get
let's say a dance, say Coachella. I'd try and tap into a Coachella market or something like that, where they've got a huge database of my target demographic, and I'd probably give away rev share. I think a lot of people are scared to give away rev share with their businesses and things like that, but that's where you're going to get the most growth. I think you can't be greedy these days. You've just got to give away rev share if you have to, because it's better to have 10% or 50% of a large number or 100% of nothing. So build sharing into
but 100% of nothing is so easy.
It is, isn't it?
One of the messages that you're focusing on is, and I think this is really kind of an important takeaway.
Yep.
Sharing is not accidental.
Exactly.
That the idea that we're going to put stuff out there and just, let's see what people share today, that's leaving it up to the fates, and it doesn't need to be that accidental. You can engineer it.
Exactly. Yeah, there's definitely a science behind sharing. A great book is Contagious by, I think it's Yona Berger.
Yes.
Have you read that one? Great book. So he has a framework that he talks about of what makes content goes viral. And it can apply for anything. And he has a steps framework, which I can't completely remember the framework off the top of my head. So I'd suggest going and reading that book, because you could definitely get a lot of good ideas of how you can get viral growth from any of your content that you start sharing. Because there's definitely a framework that he's done a lot of research into.
And STEPS is a much better acronym than BUMS, I think it's safe to say.
Exactly.
Want to throw out questions from the audience. Any questions for Mark?
I've got jet lag as well too, by the way. Same as Craig.
It's impossible not to.
Jeff Schmidt, by the way. Hi, everybody. Drinks are on Mark afterwards, just FYI. Drinks are on you.
Thanks.
List. Everybody's talking about the list, build a list, build a list. A lot of us have been working in radio long enough where we've had build lists, we've motivated people, and they were built on a lot of kind of old school contesting techniques. Yeah. And I think everybody in this room has probably done things like that. That stuff doesn't seem to work anymore. People don't care. Yeah. The techniques you're talking about, the place I see them done most, and correct me if I'm wrong, are with a lot of these people who are selling how to run your internet business, buy my course for $3.99, right? And they put everything you're talking about into place, and then you pay $3.99, and then you get to learn how to put everything into place so you can sell a course for $3.99. Sharing audio, like I think Mark hit it. Maybe the public space has, or the membership space has more opportunities for that. But for a commercial broadcaster, content's already going out for free. We're constantly stuck with what's the hook. How do you get people to engage and give up that information to build out the list? Thoughts, ideas?
Well, I guess that's when you get to start to know that target demographic and ask them exactly what they need. Like before I launched my book, I went and did a big survey of my target demographic and found out exactly what they wanted to know, exactly what they needed. And that could be something as simple as doing the same thing. Find out exactly what they want and then give that to them in some sort of, it doesn't have to be an e-book or whatever it might be. You just give them something so you can get their details. I wouldn't worry, because you don't want to alienate that thinking, okay, it's not going to work, because everyone loves stuff for free, especially if it's going to help them. So it might be videos, it might be that you go and catch up with people, 45-minute free sessions, whatever it might be. You just got to give something for value, and then you can build that relationship through the email list. And that transfers across the board on anything. It's really about just giving a lot of value away.
And I want to jump in on that too, because your point, Jeff, about contests being the primary driver, that's part of the old school metaphor. I mean, Mark didn't say anything about contests. And that's the way people are thinking about it. That's not the right way to think about it. For example, and your second point about, as people who are trying to sell, courses or whatever, I've got this stuff on the site for this event. If you go to the landing page, and it is a landing page, it's only one page, for this event, what you'll find at the very top is opt-in. And I've got 900 people on that list now, which is more than a lot of radio stations have, who aren't brought in by a contest. So I think it's as broad as it can be based on how ambitious you are in using it and how broadly you think of it. But if you think of it purely as, if you want to win 1 in a million chance, enter here, that's the lowest rung on the ladder.
That's the pervasive way that's being executed right now.
Well, and I think, Mark, you would probably say that's value and 1 in a million chance to win a contest are not the same thing.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely, you got to give them value. You got to give them what they want, not just a chance to win, you know, $100 or whatever it might be. That doesn't work. No one really wants to do that. But if it's something that they're going to actually get a lot of value out of, you know, that's going to help them do whatever they need to do, it points out a pain, it really something that they're struggling with, that's when you're going to get that cut through and you're going to get them on the list. You know, you might not get everyone on your list, but that's when you start to sort of look at how you can make it better to get more people on the list and look at your conversions.
And this, by the way, is why Pandora and others in the space are able to get that registration information, because the value they get in exchange is worth giving up that list. That's the list.